I'm Aryeh Schwartz,
And I'm Rachel Galligan.
and welcome to the Winsidr show where it's all about the W. Well, this episode is simple. It's clear cut. The playoff hunt is on. If you like our show, please consider joining our Patreon community, patreon.com/Winsidr. For less than a cup of coffee a month, you can directly show support for the hard work we do covering the W. And don't forget to see our amazing staff's written content over at winsidr.com. That's winsidr.com. You're looking to get tickets for the current WNBA season or some other upcoming event? Thanks to our sponsor, TickPick, you don't have to worry. The original no-fee ticketing site and official ticketing partner of the defending WNBA champion, Chicago Sky. Use the link tickpick.com/Winsidr for all your upcoming ticket purchases for the WNBA, NFL, NBA, or any other event. That's tickpick.com/Winsidr. Well, Rachel, it's great to have you back in the booth. It's time to talk playoffs. The road to the playoffs is anything but set. It is confusing. It is, just a slugfest at this point for six teams vying for those coveted last three spots. The assumption being that Washington Mystics and Seattle Storm don't have some, abysmal showing over the next
Which, at
few.
this point, who knows?
Who knows? I mean, with the way Mystics are playing, doubtful.
Right.
But hey, you could be right. How you want to tackle this? I mean, the six teams are LA Sparks, Atlanta Dream, Dallas Wings, Phoenix Mercury, Minnesota Lynx, and the New York Liberty.
Well, let's start by if you're living under a rock, the Chicago Sky, Las Vegas Aces, and Connecticut Sun, as of last night, have clinched their playoff spot. And as of right now, the only team that's been eliminated has been the Indiana Fever, riding their 12-game losing streak. So, yes, we will focus on six. We are assuming that the Seattle Storm and Washington Mystics, right there at that 4 and 5 slot, are going to be able to take care of business. So we're talking about Phoenix Mercury, LA Sparks, Dallas Wings, Atlanta Dream, New York Liberty, and Minnesota Lynx, and how the rest of their season fares, and if and what that road looks like. Aryeh did a really phenomenal job of kind of breaking this down.
Well, let's look at it. All right, we'll start with this is in no specific order at all. Let's look at the LA Sparks first, right? I broke it down to, in my mind, what are the key categories: home games, away games, top opponents, being Seattle and above, and then bubble teams, or do you get to play the Fever? No shade, but like let's be realistic about it. The Fever are 5-25. Realistically, I think any team, really the Dream and the Wings are the lucky ones, but because they're the only ones who get to. But any team would love to play the Fever in this home stretch where everybody is just desperately trying to accrue as many dubs as they can. So the LA Sparks, they have 4 home games, 4 away games. They face 2 top opponents because they play the Connecticut Sun twice, and they play bubble teams 5 times. And they do not play the Fever. They play the Lynx, the Liberty twice, the Mystics, who honestly you could argue are a top team also. So maybe the Sparks have it even a little harder than I put it, because the Sparks kind of have this mixture, right? Because the conclusion that I came to after looking at all of this is it really boils down to, do you believe that it's better to face bubble teams or to face top teams as you're fighting for that playoff spot? I mean, realistically, if you want to make the playoffs, you should beat the other bubble teams. If you want to win the playoffs, you should beat the top teams. How do you think last night was not? We
I
did
was going
a
to say,
Yeah, last
the
night was
timing of
not
this.
inspiring for the LA Sparks.
Well,
Um,
yeah, I mean, we're essentially right at the end of July, beginning of August. Drama. Liz Cambage no longer with the team. So now you're still working on rotations, and you're at this point of the season, which That's alarming within itself. I think we could talk about, playing Kennedy Carter, obviously running the offense through Neka Ogumake, but they couldn't score. I mean, Christy Tolliver and Katie Lou Samuelson went like 0 of 14 from the field or something like that, 0 of 12. So their ability to score and lack of defense last night was not inspiring. But I will say, out of some of these other routes, some of these other bubble teams that we will talk about, it seems like LA's got, they definitely don't have the hardest route. You know, um, being able to play at home. It just comes down to, can this team piece something together these last few weeks? But yeah, going off last night when you can't score and you can't really defend very well, didn't feel very good.
Well, I would say the other issue is that they're going up. I mean, yes, they have a nice home stay at the end of the season. Um, they're going up against
High
Connecticut.
high offensive teams as well.
Yeah, but my concern, I guess, is, and I said this before the podcast, like they're going up against Connecticut. Connecticut's half a game behind Vegas right now
Hmm.
for the number 2 spot. So like, and trust me, you would rather be number 2 versus number 3. Um, so for me, it's just like this is a really, really tough situation for them. Now they're 5-5 over the last 10. They're on a 2-game losing streak right now. They have a better record. I mean, they're 7-7 at home and 5-9 on the road. But I guess like my thing is looking at this, I go, okay, I could see them splitting, right? I could see them beating the Sun one of those games. It's hard to beat a team twice in a
I
row
don't
at
see
their
that
home.
happening.
You don't think they can
No,
steal one win
no.
against the Sun? All right, well then they're screwed. No, because like realistically, okay, Lynx, Dream, like all right, I guess what you're saying is you could see them beating bubble teams. You can't see them beating the top teams.
Exactly. So if you finish 500 from here on out is maybe a
Well, that
possibility.
means so Rachel. Just to put it plainly, that means they're losing to the Mystics and they're losing to the Sun. That's 3 of 8 games.
And I see them splitting with Liberty. I don't see them beating Liberty twice.
Okay, so then we're talking about they need to beat Minnesota, they need to beat the Dream, and they need to beat Dallas. They can beat Dallas.
Who knows with Dallas? Who knows with half of these teams?
Yeah,
I mean, at the end of the day, okay, well, we'll get a chance to see LA at home on Sunday when they host the Minnesota Lynx. That's a big game because we'll get to the Lynx here in a little bit, but a must win for both teams. You kind of get a better idea as to why for LA as we just kind of broke it down a little more. But yeah, the Sparks. I mean, there's enough issues in LA right now, beyond just being a bubble team. We'll save that for
yeah,
a whole other episode.
yeah. All right, let's move on to the Dream. The Atlanta Dream. They have 4 home games, 3 away games, 1 top opponent, 4 bubble teams, and 1 versus the Fever. They actually have, they've really because they outperformed and performed so well in the first half of the season. They're in a really, really good spot. I know they've slipped. I know that, in the last 10 they're 4-6, not a good sign. They don't have a winning or even 500 record at home or on the road.
Lost
Pretty
three
much
in a
the
row.
same record. I it But here's the thing. Let's talk about who they play. The Wings, Liberty twice, the Fever, the Sparks, the Aces, and the Lynx. Right now, I can see them like they. All right, Fever. That should be a win for the Dream, right? Um, I see them beating the Wings. I see them probably splitting with the Liberty. I mean, realistically, then they have to beat the Sparks or the Lynx or the Aces.
Here's the thing too. I mean, I was talking about it a little bit last night on our playback hot plug. Um, the Fever they're not going to go winless the rest of the season. Like they play the Aces tonight. I said that has potential to be a trap game. I still, that's a shot in the dark, but it's not like the Fever are just going to roll over. I do not see them losing every single game for the remainder of the season. There's going to
They
be some
can't
of
lose
these.
out.
No, I really don't. I really don't. I mean, we've seen this team that has actually been more enjoyable to watch, and they're playing with house money now. Like you come out, you're hitting shots, you're feeling good about yourself. Like they've got an opportunity to beat some of these bubble teams, and it will happen. and that's when it's going to be really detrimental to some of these teams. And I could see that happening to potentially the Dream. Any of these teams really. I could see it happening to the Dream, and really the Wings. Those are the only teams that will face the Fever the remainder of the way.
Yeah, and that's the question is like now, like I said this before, obviously every team wants to face the Fever, but to that same respect, you can go into it going, "Oh yeah," like buy into that a little bit too much, and then it becomes a trap game, especially for these teams that like look, the Fever are have won this year. Yes, they've only won 5 times, but the point of the matter is, and a couple of those came against the Lynx. Point of the matter is, like they can pull off a victory if you are not taking them
100%.
seriously,
100%.
and you know that's and here's the thing, and there's a elephant in the room, as it were. There's like a very big connection between the Sparks, Dream, Wings, Mercury, Lynx, and Liberty. Um, and that's just and you know what? The one team that I would say doesn't really have this issue, doesn't really have this elephant in the room, is consistency,
Hmm.
right? Like the Mercury are the only team of all these teams that have like
Feels consistent.
right, like they're always. Sometimes the shots aren't falling, fine, but no one always hits their shots. But like we know what you're going to get from them defensively. We know what you're going to get from them offensively. Unless like just nobody's hitting shots. I feel like the Mercury out of all these teams are the only team that we legitimately know who they are.
That's a fair assessment. 100%. I mean, the Wings, I can't. It's impossible. It's impossible to talk about the Dallas Wings. Minnesota, just when you think they're getting ready to go on a little bit of a run, start imploding again. Liberty, I mean, same thing. I kind of have the Liberty and Dallas in that same category, not because of, but just in terms of inconsistency. Some days they look really, really good. Some days it's like, what the hell's going on? Sparks, I mean, they're in their own category of just demolition. Um, I think Atlanta has a little bit more, probably more so respect across the league from what they were able to do earlier on in the season because teams didn't quite understand what they had. Well, now they do. The scouting report is out, the schemes are out. There's a better understanding of their personnel and what they're trying to run, and now it's truly just about okay, this franchise has got to continue to grow and rebuild around a lot of these young players and pieces. I agree with the Mercury. You know that you're going to have high offensive scoring guards in Skylar Diggins Smith, Diana Taurasi. Sophie Cunningham is going to step up and knock down some shots. She's been really good for them. I mean, I agree. This is the only team that we know, despite all the drama on this team and all the whispers and all the things everybody wants to talk about. We know when this team crosses those lines, they're going to compete night in and night out, and you cannot take them for granted.
And I'll say this. I will die of laughter if the Mercury win a championship this year and the Storm don't. Um, Well, obviously the Mercury one. Let's talk about the Dallas Wings.
They're
They have an interesting rest of season schedule. They're going to play the Dream, Sky, Aces, Fever, Liberty twice, Mercury, and the Sparks. 4 home games, 4 away games. Play the top 2 twice with the Sky and the Aces. 5 bubble teams and once versus the Fever. Kind of a nice like this Wings. Here's the thing with the Wings team is like I'd rather them play more top teams. I'd rather them play like for the Wings, give me all of it. Right? Like if you're some of these teams, there's specific teams you want to play. If I'm the Wings, I'm just like, you know what? Give it to me all because
yeah.
we've been so inconsistent. Then like what else is there? It doesn't matter who we're playing. We're the ones who are beating ourselves.
Well, and that's the thing. I was just going to say they're in control of their own destiny from a standpoint of just controlling themselves. So, can they find a consistency within this team, regardless of who they're facing, night in and night out? We know this team can beat and go toe to toe with any team in the league. They can also lose to any team in this league. So it's like, can you not beat yourselves? And right now, if the playoffs started today, they would be the last team in at that 8th spot.
Yeah, we
Eight.
should say, sorry, just to cut you off, we should say currently Atlanta, New York, and Minnesota are the teams that would not make the playoffs. So Phoenix, LA, and Dallas would.
Yeah. Yeah, and I have a feeling that Dallas will sneak in. They'll be at that 8th spot when it's all said and done.
They just have too much talent.
Well,
Like,
they have too much talent, but you've got some interesting matchups here. And again, it's like the Liberty twice, the Fever, the Dream. Mercury, Sparks. I mean, I think that they can easily go 500 down this last stretch, if not better.
This just made me think we're definitely going to have to do a pick 'em for three that make it, three that don't. At the end of this, excuse me, Phoenix Mercury have the Mercury also. Am I worried about who they're playing? Not really at this point. As long as they're not playing the Aces, the Sky, the Liberty twice, the Sun twice, the Wings, and the Lynx.
I
Now,
like their path. I
I
mean,
do too. I mean, obviously, you don't like that they're playing the Sun twice. They got 4 home games. That's great for them. 3 away games, playing 3 top opponents and 4 bubble teams. But
but if you take care of business against the Liberty, the Wings, the Lynx, and you steal one from the Sun, which they totally can do, they're fine. They're in
yeah,
control.
and they're guaranteed in. I mean, yeah, so they got 7 games. If they can, heck, even if honestly, what are they sitting at? 13-6. If
Sixth in the league
they
standings.
13-16, I mean, yeah, like they split it, right? They got what, 7 games left. If they go 4-3, if they don't, what I mean, if they
Yeah.
can, sorry, they can't split it. If they go 4-3, not 3-4, I'd say almost guarantee in the playoffs. Just not a bad situation for them. Like, yeah, I the Lynx kind of had their number this season. Um, the Mercury can handle the Wings. I'm not worried about that. Even though like the Wings are almost like a baby version of the Mercury. Not I have that same sense of like, okay, no, this is what it is. It's like the Mercury when they get pissed off or are the villains, channel that and play better. The Wings and like the Mercury entice people to like, come on, poke me, piss me
Mhm.
off, piss me off.
Mhm.
The Wings are like that, but they don't necessarily play that much better when they're pissed.
No, not from what I've seen at least.
And so it's hilarious because it's
Maybe
like,
Marina Mabry, maybe.
well, yeah, I mean that's the main one I'm thinking of, but like Aryeh too. I just feel like they have that mindset, but like they don't deliver, and that's what makes the Mercury so great. Is like they're delivering, right? It's like a wrestling match when the guy that the whole crowd wants to lose just keeps winning, and you're like, well, I can't do anything but root for him. Minnesota Lynx. Uh,
This
actually,
is
but
this is a tough road. They've got a
this
tough
is a
road.
tough road. I just want to remind everybody we've been hosting watch parties on Playback. It's a really fun new way to watch games. There's no lag. Everybody's watching on the same screen, the same time, so there's no spoilers. We do merch giveaways, trivia questions. We bring beat reporters on who can give us some insight on the teams. We bring on former players. We bring on coaches, cool, interesting talking heads. And we talk about the W and watch the games, and it's really fun. The link is getplayback.com /room black /winsidr. That's getplayback.com /room /winsidr. And we're going to be doing one on Tuesday for the Mystics Aces game. Should be a good one. Elena Deladon is expected to play. These teams are battling. Washington Mystics currently sit at 18-11. Las Vegas Aces at 20-8, even though we're not really talking about them this episode because they're basically shoo-ins for the playoffs. Back to the Minnesota Lynx, Rachel. Uh, Let me just break down the stats and we'll talk about this because it's a tough road. 2 home games, 4 away games, 3 top opponents, 3 bubble teams, and they don't play the Fever. Although that's probably a good thing for the Lynx the way they've been playing this season. Rachel, it's a tough road.
Yeah, it's a tough road, and they've got the fewest amount of games left.
That's the other thing.
You know, and
That and that's one thing going for the Liberty, and we'll get to that in a moment. Is the Liberty have 9 games, the most going. So while the Liberty are not sitting too pretty, yeah,
well, in credit for Minnesota, they were able to hang on and beat the Atlanta Dream last night. Can't believe that 40-point fourth quarter comeback was unbelievable by the Dream. Um, but the Lynx, that's tough. You're on the road for the majority of that. You've got the Storm twice. You've got the Mercury. You've got the Sun, and then Dream and Sparks. It's
so
it's it's the toughest road in my opinion, and it's the toughest situation. Trust me, I want
agreed.
them to get into the playoffs more than anybody, but I don't know. This is going to be
right? We need Sill in the playoffs. Um, Here's my thing also. Everyone's been talking about, oh, well, what if they get Fee back? What if Fee comes back, like
yeah, it's
it honestly, I think it will, and I say this with all due respect, like I think it will hurt this team more so because realistically, that means somebody has to go, and it can't be a Chanwa, and it's not, and it can't or not won't be Demiris Dantas, which means it's going to be Nikolina Milic, who by far, besides Sill and Shep, like has been up there with Shep with importance. Call me crazy, whatever. I know I'm biased because Milic is the MVP of the year. No, I'm joking. No, the Lynx have an insanely hard road. This is why weeks ago I said to you, Rachel, if the Lynx make the playoffs this year, it'll be one of the most like remarkable things I've ever seen in my years of watching the W. They buried themselves into a ridiculous hole. They're now 5-5 over the last 10 games.
well, and it was
Um,
exactly why 2 weeks ago we were saying these were must-win games. You know,
Here's the thing, though. I completely agree. Here's the thing. This is interesting. Of the playoff bubble teams, Rachel, only 3 teams are 500 or better in the last 10. Minnesota, LA are both 5-5, and then Phoenix is 6-4.
interesting.
Every other team has a losing record over the last 10 games, which actually is quite interesting. Real quick, they play the Storm twice, the Mercury, the Sun, the Dream, and the Sparks. Realistically, if you have your Lynx colored glasses on, they have the Mercury's number. They sweep them this season. Um, they got devoured, then got close. Maybe they can get close again to the Sun. Most likely, that's a drop. I think they can split with the Storm, and maybe if you're really wearing rose or lynx colored glasses, they can take both. I don't think they take both. I think they can split. So we're talking 2 losses. They can easily beat the Dream, Mercury, and Sparks.
Yeah, I'm thinking
So
best case scenario they end up going 4-2,
yeah. So
which
four and
is
two,
not
they
enough.
sit at what, 15-21. Um,
S- Still gonna be
that's going to be tough because realistically, I mean, that means Phoenix. Also interesting, Phoenix of their last 10, they lost 2 or they lost 4. 2 of those were to Minnesota. Um, yeah, that's going to be an interesting one because you look at it and you go, is Dallas, LA, and Phoenix? They'd have to lose 5 more games.
yeah.
That's just, I mean,
Right.
that's tough. That yeah, I mean, I don't know how else to put it. Like we're at the point where the Lynx need to win out. Some if the Lynx go 5-1,
Well, and I think what's interesting too is we're talking about these teams and it's like which ones really have the sense of urgency to make the playoffs. And I know we're not supposed to talk about lottery and tanking and all this sort of stuff, but like the Sparks, the Lynx, and the Wings, those are in the Mercury. Those are the teams that are like really, really like they need to find a way to get in. And I would almost say the Sparks and the Mercury or I'm sorry, the Sparks and Minnesota. But like Minnesota, that's one of those teams that they are trying so desperately. They probably want it outside of the Mercury more than anyone else in this group of teams because let's be real, the Atlanta Dream, the New York Liberty, you're at the point where you have to start talking about lottery. I mean, let's just be real from a front
yeah.
office perspective. Um, Lynx being out and being in the lottery, it doesn't really like that doesn't help their odds and kind of where the way the lottery works. So it's like, in terms of just the want to and Sills last year and everything, you really got to think that like Minnesota's sense of urgency to inch into this playoffs and do what they do is got to be up there at the top of everybody
And
else.
here's the thing: when I look at yeah, all right, and Rachel, feel free to call me out as a homer on this one. When I look at Liberty, Lynx, Mercury, Wings, Dream, and Sparks, of these teams, I would say, and maybe this is just like old head, whatever. Like, call me out if need be. The Mercury and the Lynx are the 2 teams that like I think can make the most noise in the playoffs.
Probably, yeah,
Like, yeah, I know the
I
Wings
agree.
could, but like the Wings are too inconsistent. I don't trust them in a series. The Sparks, I just think just don't have the roster to do much. And the Dream are they have a good defense and they're fun to watch and
But
everything,
they're
but we know that,
completely
like,
rebuilding, like
yeah,
the expectation's not there for Atlanta right now.
yeah, and I'm not even gonna talk about the Liberty. Well, let's talk about the Liberty, right? 4 home games, 5 away games, 1 top opponent, and 8 bubble teams, which is really where it comes to, do you wanna play bubble teams or top teams? They play the Sky, the Mercury twice, the Wings twice, the Sparks twice, and the Dream twice. The other question I have for you, Rachel, actually, is when you look at this now, like, would you rather play a couple, like, 3 teams and play them twice each? Or would you rather, Minnesota Lynx version where Mercury, Sun, Dream, Sparks, 4 different teams. Yes, they play the Storm twice, but 4 different teams versus, you look at the Sparks, who maybe Minnesota's going to try and steal their spot. They play the Liberty twice and the Sun twice, or, the Liberty, who play 3 teams twice. Would you rather, long winded, would you rather play a team multiple times or once in this stretch?
I mean, this is just my opinion. I think there's pros and cons to both, but you're at this point of the season playing back to backs with the same team starts to emulate what playoff is going to look like. And I think there's
Mm.
benefit to that when you're getting into the playoffs and talking about series is um, I think it is a little bit strange to have back to backs earlier in the season, and definitely, again, we talk about the benefits of understanding a team, and the preparation is not as grueling in terms of just turning around and preparing for a different team the next day. But I think my long-winded answer is I like it for the Liberty right now, because if they can find a way to inch into the playoffs, this is a good preparation round, to what playoff is going to look like, and playing multiple teams back to back in different situations. I think that can only benefit.
All right. Well, Liberty are 3-7 in the last 10. Um, you know what? Everybody's just been hating on me for being a hater, so I'm leaning in.
I
I'm just
mean,
leaning in. Um,
it,
okay, cool. So let's do it, right? Like,
I don't know.
we've talked about the teams, 3 in, 3 out. Should we go one by one, or should we do 3 and 3? Should we do outs?
What are we doing? We're predicting.
Uh, Prediction, you can view this as a bet, a prediction.
God.
I, you know what I mean? Like, and you know me, Rachel, I'm gonna have a hot take or two.
Okay. I I really, 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 I want the Lynx to pull this off. It would be remarkable. I just, at the end of the day, don't believe that the hole they dug themselves in at the beginning of the season, up until the midway point of the season, I just think it's too
Hmm.
much. I don't see Minnesota making it, unfortunately.
Okay, so that's one out.
Um, I think Atlanta and Liberty will be out as well.
Yeah. And
Not be
how happy? Here's the thing: if you're Atlanta and they don't make the playoffs, how happy are you as an organization?
For sure, 100%. Now, I mean, you have to give them credit. I mean, Atlanta's going out and they're competing night in and night out. I mean, you drop 40 points in the fourth quarter. I mean, that's it's at that delicate conversation where it's like, this franchise wants to win, and clearly we're going to be talking about them for years to come. It's no longer Atlanta Dream of the last however many years that we've been like, what the hell's going on there? But as an organization and from a building block piece and from a lottery standpoint, it's like, is that that front office has got to be like biting their tongue, like, okay, like, it's bittersweet in some ways, the wins that they've been able to have this year, the season that they've had, but at some point, what is the best for this franchise in the long run? um yeah, and it's the same with the Liberty too, because I think the Liberty, yes, they have some pieces, but this is not a lost season if they don't make the playoffs. In my mind, I think we are going to be talking about the Liberty next year, 2 years down the road, up in those upper 4 or 5 slots. Um, in my opinion, that's where I think the Liberty are going, and it will be really, really interesting. This is a pivotal moment for that organization from a lottery perspective as well.
So you have the Lynx, Atlanta, and the Liberty not making it, which means you have the Sparks, Wings, and Mercury making it.
Yes.
I have the Liberty not making it, the Sparks not making it.
Ooh.
Okay,
Okay.
only because right now they're tied with Dallas and Atlanta's right there. Um, and Yeah, I want them to, but what I've seen over the past actually, oh my god, am I gonna go twisty?
We can't be the same. So yeah, go twisty.
All right, I'm going twist. I'm just gonna do it. All right, I'm pulling the sparks out. Um.
So now you have the Sparks making it.
Oh wait, if I want to go twisty, I shouldn't have him make it. Well,
Yeah.
no, because I'm so tempted. I'm so tempted to just go with Mercury Sparks Lynx based on the last 10.
Mhm.
Like I see, Atlanta. I think I agree. Atlanta's just like falling out. Fine, you know what? I'm doing it. I'm going
Okay.
Mercury,
Lynx and Sparks.
Sparks,
Okay.
Lynx. So
I
Lynx
like
and
it.
Wings are the only teams that we disagree on. That's annoying.
Well,
Um,
I mean, at the end of the day, any of these teams could tank and fall out.
True. You
Truthfully,
know what? Because well, then we have two teams
you're
similar.
being very indecisive right now.
I know. It's really hard. No, because in all honesty, the Lynx is my wild card. The Lynx are like I don't think, but I'll sound really smart if I get it right.
There you go.
I don't, like I said, um, and it's just I don't think. Yeah, I think it would be easy to go Phoenix, LA, and Dallas, uh, which is what you did. You just went with who's there right now, Rachel. You
Pretty
cop
much.
out.
Pretty much.
All right. Well, at least I had a wild card in there. We'll see who's right. You're probably right. You know what? But I'm never gonna hate on
No,
myself
no,
for.
Atlanta's one of those two. They could easily be in. I
Well,
really could
that's
see
the
it.
thing. You know what?
He's gonna switch it.
Even though they wouldn't like it, I'm going. I'm gonna just so that we have a complete difference. Sparks are not making it,
I
but
mean, that is
Atlanta is.
completely.
Mercury, Atlanta, Lynx.
There you go.
Boom. Why not? There's a caveat there, but whatever. Rachel, sign us out.
Thanks for joining us, guys. What do we have going on tonight? Let's take a look. Tonight we've got Las Vegas Aces at the Indiana Fever. Trap game potential? Probably not.
Ooh.
We'll see. And then New York Liberty at the Chicago Sky. Saturday, Seattle Storm at Washington Mystics. Dallas Wings, Atlanta Dream. That's an important one right there between those two. And then Sunday, a whole slew of games. Appreciate you guys being here
What we
today.
doing Tuesday though?
Yeah, we're doing Tuesday. What game are we doing?
Mystics, Aces, and Gus will be on the stream.
Perfect. All right. We appreciate you guys for joining us. Thank you for those who join us on our stream. We'll talk to you next time.